everybody, Charlie here. I'm back. I'm going to do a little update for episode 6 here and kind of give you an idea of what I've done. I added an extension. I'm not sure if it's enough yet. Basically all I did was on the existing one, I ground an area in here and applied a layer so it would overlap onto the original, and then built it up to a specific thickness. I believe this was 2 or 3 layers, can't remember. So I have this extension on here and I made up a plate. All I did was put some packing tape on this flat surface and just laid up some glass just like so. And then when it peels off, got a nice glossy surface. So what I plan to do is trim this piece down and fit it in this area here where the hooks will be. So it'll basically ride up and it'll be hollow underneath. So I'll cut it out and it'll fit in here, making it with some of the polyester glue like I did the rest of the things at bonding these two here. So I'll bond that onto here and it'll be hollow underneath so that the hooks will be able to bite on, and then I'll be able to actually sand and fill it out any of the corners or edges or anything like that. Anyways, this was just an update. When then I get this all completed, I'll touch base back and we'll show you what it looks like. Hey everybody, we're back. All right, there's been a lot going on, the holidays, etc. So it's been a few days since I was able to put together some more work on the cowl, but I have moved forward a little bit. On the previous clip, I showed you where I had laid up some material on the flat surface to create a flat piece of stock. Here I have another piece that I made for some of the other work that I've done since the previous clip. We'll kind of go over a little bit and show you everything that I've done on the inside and how the hook made in the back. And so here we go. Okay, we're back again. As you can see, I got a whole bunch of lines on here in the front and the back. We'll kind of go over that here shortly, but I just wanted to touch base and show you the details from what we had done before. You can see kind of the hollow spots underneath. That's where the hooks go, but this is now nice and smooth in here. I've cleaned up the surfaces, cleaned up all these edges here, made them nice and crisp. I've glued some lands in here on both sides. Basically what those do is when the seat cowl is on, it prevents you, if someone was to rest their hand on here, that it wouldn't break the tail light. It would actually be a solid resting surface on there. So we'll kind of go over that. I'll put it on the bike and show you a few things. I've actually go ahead and on the bike itself, I went ahead and put Dzus fittings in. Those go in these holes, and so they're a 1/4 turn fitting, and that will lock the seat cowl on. So I'll show you that. We'll kind of go over the when I took and made this part right here, I made myself a template. I just put it on here like so, and then trace it out and then cut this piece out. I actually beveled the edges so that it would ride in here smooth, and then I mixed up some polyester paste with the Cabosil and the milled fibers, so basically a glue, and then glued this on solid so you can potentially see that it's a nice raised area. But I'll show you how we closed in the gap from those hooks on the taillight from the scene on the previous video. The lines on here, some of them are sanded off now because I've actually went through a couple things, but these are my reference lines, the center line going down the center of it, and then I've measured off lines to be down the sides, and I use these particular lines. I take a piece of small, like 18 gauge wire, and I put a two marks on it, or a mark on it at least, to go from the center line, and then I measure it down to the corner, referencing following these lines with the wire, and I do it on both sides. So that gives me a basic reference for gauging it out to make sure that it's somewhat symmetrical. So if one wire is longer on one side than the other, that means that side needs to have a build up to it, or there's something not square with the actual part. But as you can see, this part's sitting on a flat surface. It doesn't woggle, so you can see there's no chatter. It's not bouncing, so that means this part is extremely straight. And I've achieved that in a couple different fashions. I've coated this countertop. Once I had it reasonably square, I was able to put tape on this countertop, and then I spread that polyester putty on this surface, and then I reset it back down on here, press it down to the point where it's solid, and you can see it squish out on the edges, even on the inside. And then once it cures, I peel it off, and then I'm able to clean up the edge on the inside and the outside, and then it gives me a nice square and true part. Same thing with this surface in the front. I had a couple areas that were low, so I just put more tape on the countertop, and then I set it on the counter like so, and applied some weight to it, and then that fills any of the low spots. And if you have, let's say, a skew or unsquare side, you can make adjustments to it. You can either like glue a small piece of wood or something like that to help set your offset. So if the thing was really bad off, this is exaggerating it, you could actually fill that much material underneath, but it was not. It was fairly square, so I was actually just trying to clean it up. But she's all square, she's symmetrical. I've measured it out by measurement and by hand feel. These are the best gauges. If you use both hands at the same time and you rub down sides equally, you can actually feel imperfections. And whenever I go and actually apply some paint or primer to this, I'll be able to see any other low spots. Because of the distortion and the color changes and stuff like that, it makes it extremely difficult to see the slightest imperfections as far as dips or any kind of imperfection in the surface. So once this is ready to go, I will put some primer on here, and then I'll be able to do final sanding. But this is going to be the final of this episode of making one-off fiberglass parts. So we'll touch base on that at a much later time frame when it comes to painting, etc. This is another gauge template that I've made. This was used to make when I went to sand it out. So basically, I'm able to line it up and put it on there, and then I have a nice perfect surface following this way. Once you've established your center line of your part, you kind of work and fix any issues that you may see during the fabrication of the part. We'll take a pause here, and then I will start the video back up and show you with it on the bike. All right, we're on. The seat cowl is in position. As you can see, the Dzus fittings are installed. That makes this part solid in there. From looking at the rear, if you remember, it had a really big gap in here, and as you can see, there is no gap anymore. The plate that I added to the bottom side here is tapered downward towards the light, so that actually filled in the gap, made it look really nice. Have a uniform thickness going around. There may be some slight imperfections, but final body work to that will take care of that. But as you can see, it's in there, the gap is done, the hooks are underneath it, and it came out awesome. So the edges that go underneath are nice and smooth to the bottom of the subframe. Once I start getting ready for paint work, all these sharp edges, I'm going to knock them down, put a light radius on them, so I don't have super square sharp edges, so there will be radiuses added to it. And as you can see, it has a nice swept back look. I wanted a little bit of the taillight to be exposed down at this point, so anyone at a side angle of me on the bike could actually still see somewhat of the turn signal, etc. And you can see that the little roof over the taillight is about 1 3/8 inch, 1.5 maybe, that hangs over. It doesn't obstruct the view of the taillight if you're standing behind it. I actually looked, so that came out really nice. The seat cowl is basically done at this point. Now with the Dzus fittings on there, I'll be able to put some covering over this, and we'll start working on the actual seat tray to go in here, and it'll be molded over the tops of these so that they don't interfere with the covering on the seat. Anyways, and then I'll show you on the inside, because I had ended up picking up a smaller battery. I wanted to be able to fit my Moto Gadget unit in here, and along with the start solenoid and the battery itself, it will all fit underneath this seat cowl, so I'm pretty ecstatic about that. So it'll leave, once the bottom tray is on here, it'll leave this whole area. If someone wants to keep their gloves, their paperwork for their motorcycle, whatever, they'll be able to keep it right in here, or a little tool pouch, whatever they need. So anyways, I'll pause it, kind of show you the Dzus fittings that have been welded to the subframe, and then we'll call this video done and the end of episode 6. And like I said, this is the final episode of doing one-off fiberglass parts. So stand by and we'll come back. All right, we're back. As you can see, I made these metal brackets up. They actually follow the actual surface, the angled surface of the seat cowl. So they are at an angle on here. And then these are the clips that go to the Dzus quarter turns. You see they go in like so, and then you turn them, and that's what locks it in place. And there's the plate in the back that actually acts as a spring, so it actually puts a positive tension on the actual when you lock it down. But the new battery is going to sit back here, my start solenoid here, and my Moto Gadget M unit is going to sit right here. Then it'll allow me the room to run my wiring harness forward, and everything will be nice and clean underneath the back section of the seat cowl. Other than that, we will end this video, and then we'll start moving on to doing the seat tray, and that'll be its own episodes and its own category. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next vid. Goodbye.